Hello folks, my name is LeRoy Ellefson and I live here in Jasper. My father bought this house in 1943 and I was 2 days old on the date of the purchase. So when Mother and I came home from the Pipestone hospital, Dad took us to this house and this is where we live. And today my father and I had traded houses and I ended up owning this house, and my folks passed away in 1985, so it's been a while.
And your folks' names?
My dad was John K. Ellefson, mobile oil agent, and my mother was Valborg Mellom Ellefson. She had 7 children, Clara and Vivian, Louis and Richard, LeRoy, Knute, and Delores. And so there was the 7 of us, and both Louis and Richard are now deceased, along with my parents. So Louis was killed in a plane crash with the Air Force in 1962, and Richard died in 1999 from pancreatic cancer caused by Agent Orange from Vietnam. And so that's the story of that.
Did you say what year you were born?
Yes, I was born in 43.
43, okay.
Yep, I'll be 72 this coming July. And another thing about being born and raised in a big family in Jasper, in those days, if you didn't work, you didn't eat. And to show that point, I was told to mow the lawn on Saturday, and my buddies came by and wanted to go fishing, so we went fishing. And come supper time, I was sent up to bed with no supper because I hadn't got the lawn mowing done. So that's the way it was back then. Everybody had to do their own share, and if you didn't do it, you didn't eat.
And how many times did you skip out on your chores after that?
0. I got them done.
More people need to have that lesson.
Yep. If you don't work, you don't eat. So. But that was the way it was, and with a big family, it had to be that way. Everybody had their set chores. But and during those years, there was a little house next door here to the west, and it was a lady that lived there was a widow, and she was scared to death to be alone and didn't have a telephone. So I hooked up an alarm bell system so that if she had medical problems, she could flip a switch and buzz a buzzer over here at the house, and Mother and Dad could go over and help her. Well, it turned out that's the way it went, and she had a stroke one night, and she flipped the buzzer, and Mom and Dad went over there and got the ambulance, and unfortunately 4 days later she passed away.
Oh, bummer. What was her name?
Mrs. VanSteenberg. Anyway, then that house was torn down, and Lionel and Ruth built the new house here, but that was later on. That was in the 60s, I believe.
Lionel and Ruth Larson.
Yeah, and they lived right to the west of my house here. And
so you went to high school?
In Jasper, yep.
Okay.
And I was a member of Perry Benson's Boy Scout troop, and I was interested in TV and electronics, so Perry Benson taught me the ropes up there at his TV shop. And it didn't help me much with the Boy Scouts, but it sure helped me when I went in the Navy, so it worked out real well.
And he was a good Boy Scout leader?
Oh, excellent.
Super.
Yep.
And then so you graduated?
In 61, I graduated from high school, Jasper High School, and went off in the Navy for 5 or 6 years. And that's how I met my wife in Florida and ended up bringing her back to Jasper.
Okay. And so what was, it's Lanett.
Yes.
And what's her maiden name?
Thompson.
Okay. And where was she from?
Well, she was born in Ayrton, Alabama, and raised in Florida.
And what town in Florida did you meet?
Sanford.
Sanford.
I was stationed at the Sanford Naval Air Station, and her dad and I were on a bowling team together, and he introduced me to his daughters. She was the eldest, so I married her. So. And she was 16 going on 17 at the time.
Wow.
So she was young.
And you got married in what year?
65. Yep.
And then you moved back
to Minnesota in 66. I got my separation from the Navy, and her and I moved up here.
And you moved right back to Jasper, right?
Yep, and that's while we came to stay with Mom and Dad here at the house, and while I was looking for employment, and ended up getting a job at Honeywell in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
So then we moved up there, her and I did. And, yep.
And you were up there for how long?
5 years. Yep. We were building torpedoes for the Navy at Honeywell.
Coincidentally.
Well, yeah. And so on and so forth. And that was a good job, and it paid well, So.
Okay.